guys, this is Miss Net 100. Welcome back to my channel. I have been putting this video off for the longest. I probably should have did this video probably years ago. But better now than never. I wanted to make sure that I sat down this week and actually wrote down what I was going to say in this video, because I think the content is actually going to help, if not one or two people, a few people. I am going to speak about how I actually chose my consultant, my Sisterlocks consultant, like the process I took, you know, the amount of time it took for me to actually sit down and talk to someone and actually get my my locks put in. This video, I think, will help a lot of, like, maybe the folks who are considering Sisterlocks, knowing what questions to ask, knowing what to do when you do talk to some folks, and some of the things to consider when actually getting these Sisterlocks. So for those of you who are in the beginning process, this video is primarily for you. And this may also be a video for some of the folks who actually had maybe a different experience than I did when choosing a consultant. And then maybe in the comments, they can chime in and provide, you know, some of their experience stories, because my experience could be definitely different from some other folks' experience. So let's get started. I'm gonna caveat by saying this video is probably going to be one of the longer videos that I've done in the past. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet, and I'm trying not to ramble because y'all know I could talk, but I'm going to try and stick to the major points. I'm going to break this video down into, and if you see me looking down, it's because I wrote down notes and I want to make sure I cover everything that I wrote down. So it's going to talk about, one, talking to several consultants and the outcome of that, my experience with the trainee, and then talking to my consultant, going to my consultation, and actually how I actually chose her. So let's begin. Some of you who have followed me, all of you who have followed me, you should know that I got my installation done in June of 2013. But months before that, I had actually considered Sisterlocks. I have always liked traditional locks. I've always liked folks who maintained them, kept them neat, kept them nice looking. But I never considered locks for myself, or I never considered traditional locks for myself. I think I didn't like the fact that traditional locks were really big. Some of them are really big. They do have people who have smaller locks, but also the fact that you have to use so much products and things of that nature. And so it really didn't make me want to get them. But when I saw folks starting to wear Sisterlocks, I was like, wow, those are really beautiful. And I remember having two of my friends that actually had them. I have one friend who had them for many, many years, and she used to she used to keep her curls in all the time. And I remember one time she like colored her hair. Absolutely gorgeous. And I think then was when I said, man, I love the fact that she does her hair in different styles. It looks so beautiful on her. I was like, you know what? I'm really going to consider this. So I started to do my research, watching YouTube, tons of YouTube videos and things of that nature. So in April of 2013, I decided I was going to talk to my friends, two of my friends, and actually ask them, you know, so what was your experience? You know, how do you like them? You know, are you going to keep them in forever? So talking to them was actually a really big help to me, because it actually helped me to realize what I could ask someone if I was interested in them, and then realizing that these things can be costly. And so to, put that on my radar. So when I ask folks, how much they charge, it would be reasonable for me. So in May, at the beginning of May, I sat down and actually went to the Sisterlocks consultant website, or I went to the Sisterlocks website, and I actually looked for consultants in my area. So I live in Virginia, and I wanted to have someone that lived close to me so that I didn't feel like I had to drive really far to get to someone that was okay. I sat down, picked out like 6 different people, and then I actually called them maybe around May 11th, 2013. I sat down to probably talk to like 6 or 7 consultants, and actually talking to the first one helped me to realize what I should ask the second, third, and fourth, and fifth. So I remember asking what their starting rates were. All Sisterlocks consultants don't charge the same, and their starting rates don't begin the same, and their packages don't include the same things. So I asked what the starting rate was and what they would charge thereafter. Like, for example, some people would say, well, I charge $400 to start, and I charge $50 for every inch thereafter, 6 inches. Or they'll say I start with $400 and then I charge you per hour for every time. Whatever, I don't know, but that's some of the things that I know I wrote down about their initial rates and what their inches requirements were, and how much they charge per inches or per half an inch or whatever. I asked them about their consultation fee. Everybody knows that in order for you to actually get the Sisterlocks, you have to sit down with the consultant and do a consultation. And at the consultation, you can ask all the questions in the world. They'll tell you more about their fees. They'll measure your hair. They'll even, I think at that time, put, locks in your hair or whatever. And they all charge you a free. It's a free. They all charge you a fee. It's not free. That's what I meant to say. So you have to consider, some of them may charge you, $50. Some of you may charge you $75. It all depends on, what they want to charge. But that fee does include something. So I asked about that and what we talk about in that actual session. I also asked about how many years of experience they had. Years of experience was actually one of my biggest. If cost wasn't one of my biggest, years of experience was, because I wanted someone I knew had been doing this for many years, had had different experience with different heads, had many experiences with different hair textures. I wanted someone who was knowledgeable. So years of experience mattered to me. I also asked how many heads have you started? How many heads are you maintaining? And how many heads have you, considered doing while you have me as an actual client? One thing you don't want is someone who has too many clients, never has time for you, and always got to cancel. Take that into consideration. Please take that into consideration. I also asked, do you have pictures? I'm a visual person. I like to see things so that I can actually make a decision off of it. So for me, I needed someone who had pictures of a head they started, head that they maintained, and over the time frame that they've had this client, how their hair has progressed. That was definitely important to me. So I always ask, did you have a portfolio? Could you show me your work? And if you couldn't, I wasn't, you weren't on one of my, oh yeah, I probably will go with this. Pictures were quite important to me, and they actually should be important for you too. I asked what the install price include. When people, say, okay, I'm going to charge you $800 to do your Sisterlocks or install them, you have to ask also, okay, what does that include? Everybody's different. Every Sisterlock consultant is different. Some will say, okay, well, it includes me installing them. It includes a starter kit, and it includes your first retightening, which means if they were going to charge you $150 for your first retightening, it's actually included in the $800, that they're actually going to do all of that for you. Usually I think that's how it should be, but not all consultants offer that. So keep that in mind. Okay. Also, I think I asked, so how much are your retightenings? Because retightenings can vary. If you have a lot of hair, your retightenings can be 3-4 hours. So if they're going to charge you per hour, you need to know how much per hour that's going to cost you. And then some actually do a set rate. And if, in my experience, I think trainees usually do a set rate because they tend to take a little bit longer. So if an experienced consultant takes maybe 3.5, 4 hours, a trainee might take more hours. So because they take a little bit more hours, they usually charge a set rate. So if it's going to take them 6 hours, they're not charging you per hour. They're charging you for the session, which could be $120, $150, whatever their rate is. So that's going to be a little bit different from if you went to a person who might be a little bit more experienced and who might charge you per hour, and it only takes them 2 or 3. Okay, so as I mentioned, I talked to about 6 or 7 consultants, and then how I made my decision. So when I was talking to these people, I wanted to see what their personality was like on the phone, what their starting rate was, how it would potentially cost me for the entire install, because I knew at that time how many inches my head had in it. So I was like, okay, if I calculate this, what it might cost me, if she charged me this much or whatever, and then years of experience. And then also if they would be able to provide me with pictures. If those things didn't jive for me, they weren't on my top 2 go-to people to possibly call back to actually set up an appointment. I want to talk about how I also talked to a trainee. I talked to a trainee because at that time too, I was like, okay, this is a very expensive process. Let me talk to someone who is a trainee and see what they could possibly provide me. So I remember talking to a girl that's my friend, and she has Sisterlocks, and she actually attended the Sisterlock consulting class, and she's a trainee. So I remember talking to her, and I said, okay, well, how many heads have you started? And at that time, I think she told me she started like 1 or 2 heads or 3. And I was like, okay, well, of those people, how many are you still, how many are still your client? And I think she was like 1 or 2. And I was like, okay. And she was like, well, and I was like, how long have you had them? And she had not had them for many years. Maybe a year, maybe even that. And I was like, okay, well, do you have pictures of, their scalps and how it's progressed in the time being? And she said no. And I was kind of like, yeah, no. If I'm going to pay all this money for someone to do my hair, I want to see that you know what you're doing. And needless to say, I didn't go with her. I also asked her, okay, so how serious are you about Sisterlocks? Because I know this girl, she was in a relationship, she was talking about marriage and having babies. And I was like, well, I don't want to go with someone who may not potentially have time for me in the future. Sisterlocks, and it's something I can do myself. I can't just say, okay, well, if I don't have a Sisterlocks consultant today, I'm just going to pick up, something and do my hair. That's not going to happen. So I wanted to make sure she was serious, and she said she was, but needless to say, I didn't go with her. She did get married, she did have babies, and she's not even doing Sisterlocks no more. So, I didn't go with her, but primarily because all of the, couldn't check off the boxes that I wanted to check off to actually make a decision. So I didn't go with her, but I did end up going with an actual consultant. And let me tell you how I ended up doing that. So I talked to maybe one more person, like a 7th person or a 6th person, and she was like, well, I actually don't do I don't do new clients anymore. So because I don't have new clients anymore, I do have a woman that is my friend. She isn't right now, or she just moved from Japan, and she actually has done Sisterlocks for many, many years, and she wants to, get her clientele up, and I can refer you to her, but she's not on the Sisterlocks consultant site. And I said, oh, okay. I said, that's fine. I'll talk to her. And for some reason, maybe it was meant for me to talk to her because she was very pleasant on the phone. I asked her many questions, just the same questions I asked a lot of the other people, and she was very informative. I really liked the fact that she knew what she was talking about. Things just flowed really well with her. She was very knowledgeable, and her prices seemed very decent. Her consultation fee, I think, was like $50, and that was actually included in my price to pay her. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So let's fast forward to my actual day of consultation. That was on May the 26th. So you can see from May 11th to the 26th, I made a decision quickly. I made the appointment. I went to her house. Her home seemed very lovely. She had like a chair that, she made like her little, I guess, salon down in her basement. Everything looked nice. I wasn't disgusted. I didn't come in there thinking that, oh my God, everything was nice. She was very pleasant. She measured my hair. She gave me my price. I threw out all kinds of questions at her. I was, how do people wash their hair? How do you deal with mold? And what products are you supposed to use? And how do you, what type of hair did I have? How long is it going to take for my hair to lock? And, her answers were very straightforward. She seemed very knowledgeable. She seemed like she knew what she was talking about. Then she showed me her portfolio. I was very impressed with her portfolio. She had several clients. It wasn't like she had 1 or 2 clients. She had many heads that she had started and she had maintained, and she could show me progression. And so for me, that helped really make a decision that I could go with this lady. And then she told me, well, I don't do hair on Wednesdays and Sundays because I go to church. So for me, I'm a Christian too. So that's something that we actually, had in common. So what I have to, tell you guys is you're going to be spending a lot of time with this person that's going to be doing your hair. Make sure you like them. Like, you guys don't have to be the best of friends, but you actually have to be able to communicate with them, talk to them, especially if you're going to be sitting there for a couple of hours. So for me, her being a Christian really made me feel a lot more comfortable. And even now, like, we're friends. I'm not saying we hang out and stuff, but she has helped me in my personal life as well. So I'm glad I had made the decision I made because of all of the things that, she told me in our consultation, which allowed me to feel more confident in choosing her. And, and I felt confident with her prices. You guys have to be comfortable with the amount of money you're going to have to pay. These things can be expensive. And if you don't budget, your money to be able to maintain them, that can be difficult for you as well. So at the end of the day, after talking to her, I knew that I liked her, and so these are the reasons why I actually chose her, as I mentioned before. I didn't mention this. She had sister locks herself, and they were absolutely beautiful. And she had colored them. They were like an ombre brown color, and they were like down to her back. They were absolutely gorgeous. I had like hair envy that day. I said, yes, your hair is beautiful. So because I knew she had gone through the experience as well, and now she's a consultant, I felt a little bit more confident. She also was very knowledgeable. She knew her stuff. I threw every question out I could possibly think of, and her response was legit. She provided pictures. That was quite important to me. Quite important. I wanted to see, and I got what I asked for. She was very kind and pleasant. Her home was nice. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I asked her how serious she was about hair. She had been doing it for many years, and she wanted the extra source of income. So I knew she was legit. Like, she wasn't going to be like, I'm not doing hair no more. So that was a good thing for me. And then the fact that she was affordable. I could afford her prices. And then the fact that she had many years of experience. So in your experience with finding a consultant, make sure you know what your priorities are. Make sure you know what your limits are. Make sure you know how much you want to spend and how much you don't want to spend. Make sure you know how far you're willing to go to get to a good consultant, and make sure you like this person, especially if you're going to be seeing them every other month to do your hair, and make sure they're knowledgeable, that they can give you the information. If something happens with your hair, you have questions, you can actually go to your consultant. You don't feel like you're uncomfortable to ask those questions. So that, in a nutshell, is my experience and how I chose my consultant. Even to this day, I'm still cool with her, and she's still, a very lovely lady, and I wouldn't mind recommending her to anyone. So, feel free to share your experience down in the comments below, if they were very similar to mine, or maybe they were quite different, or maybe you're a newbie and this actually helped you. I kind of want to know that the content that I've shared actually helped you, formulate your questions a little bit, know what to ask, what not to ask, what to consider. And then thumbs up this video so that I know that what I'm providing, it actually helps somebody, one or two or three. And then if you have any comments, feel free to leave them. I'm very good about trying to respond back to folks' comments or questions. And I don't want this video to be any longer than it probably already is. So I thank you guys for listening. I hope it helped, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.